Look, a train is coming. Hi, this is Burr Stewart, and if you liked my last video on the Talgo train coming down from Vancouver, BC to Seattle, here's one that's even longer and more interesting, if you ask me. Although there was nothing wrong with that Talgo train. This is a big, long, 155-car double-stack train. At least I would normally call it a double-stack train. As you can see, there are double stacks on it. But as you will see in a minute, it's followed by a bunch of single stacks and then a bunch of empty tables, as they call them. And the reason for this is Christmas is coming in 6 months, and they got to move a lot of containers from the west coast of the United States back to the east coast, where most of the population lives. That was a nice, gratuitous horn blast from the engineer. We appreciate it very much. There are the single stacks I mentioned. The crew back in Chicago, where they probably built this train, did everything they could to fill it out, but they still had a whole bunch of empties at the back. As you know, this is the main line from Chicago to Seattle, and just behind us, another 8 miles or 10 miles, are the major yards and container terminals of the Port of Seattle, and then another 40 miles south of that is the Port of Tacoma. The sun had just set when I took this video, but there was still plenty of light for you to be able to see what was happening. And look at all those empty tables. I'm hoping that I was close enough to the train for you to see inside and be able to tell which brand of well car was running in which group of 5 cars. I'll let you decide if this is interesting enough to watch. I think it was kind of amazing to see how many of these empty cars there were. Always good to have a little wheel squeal. Ouch. It's fun to see the insides of empty well cars. You don't see that often. And it reminds me that I have various of these models on my layout, although I don't run them very often since we modeled 1973, which was way before these cars were built. But it's still fun to see them. This is taken at Carkeek Park, which is near Seattle. It's in Seattle, actually. And there's the end of our train. So thank you for watching. Now in a minute I'll show you the rest of the scene. I don't see any flashing rear end device there, but must be one. Oh yeah, I saw it just at the end. See, the train is stretched way out across the sky there. And up at the top is the half moon. The moon facing, of course, towards the sun, which just set off to the west, behind the Olympic Peninsula Mountains, called the Olympic Mountains. You see a little bit of red sunset hue. Very nice. So for now, this is Burr Stewart wishing you much fun with trains.